Hello, and welcome to Silver Screen Sips, a podcast where three idiots talk about movies.
Also, your hello was so aggressive.
Hello.
Try again. Whoop, 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 whoop.
Take two, take three, four, something. I don't remember. Hello, and welcome to Silver Screen
Hi.
Sips. Damn it, Beth. Before we get started, we do got to remind you that there are spoilers ahead for movies and TV shows that you may not have seen yet. So, as always, you've been warned. And now, Bethany will be taking it away with our sponsor.
Hey, that's me.
Yeah, that is you.
Hello. Yes, this episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Shaker and Spoon. If you haven't heard about Shaker and Spoon, it is a monthly subscription service that gives you bar quality recipes and ingredients designed by award-winning mixologists. And for a limited time only, Shaker and Spoon has released a Drink Masters cocktail collection based on the new hit Netflix series and Lewis's favorite show as of right now. If you would like to try some of the cocktails featured on the show, then head over to shakerandspoon.com and use our promo code SIPS10 to get $10 off of your first subscription. Again, that is promo code SIPS10, SIPS 10 to get $10 off.
Sick.
Now, as far as news goes this week, there's a lot. So, Liz, why don't you start us off in This Week in Hollywood?
Why would you say it like that?
I'm sorry. I didn't say it right. Say it.
You have disgraced
You
the best segment of this entire podcast. This Week in Hollywood.
This podcast is falling apart, just like the world after Harambe.
I truly believe that Harambe was the pinnacle turning point of our downfall as a human race.
Once Harambe died, everything just went downhill.
Yeah.
When Harambe died, we entered the dark timeline.
Yeah. You know how they say like the dark ages, like in olden days? That's like us. We're doing it all over again.
Dark Age is the sequel. Hollywood can't come up with a new idea.
The Dark Ages Part 2.
So if you guys know about multiverse theory, not just you guys, I mean like our listeners, obviously. Harambe dying in ours was how we entered this specific timeline, but there's another multiverse out there where Harambe survives and the child is the one who gets shot.
And that is the world of peace.
Insane. Anyway. Now that we've gotten ourselves...
Now that we've lost everyone.
Apparently, a catering company that was using hotel rooms to while on set for the film The Equalizer 3, Italian police decided to raid their hotel rooms only to find that two of the caterers were carrying more than 100 grams of cocaine. The cops broke into the hotel rooms of the resort after the head of the film's catering service suddenly died of a heart attack the previous night. Several packages of cocaine were found on the caterer, which led to the suspicion that there were more on the premises. Since then, the members have been placed under house arrest in the hotel on alleged drug dealing charges.
We have great news, John Wick fans. Anna de Armas is leading a spin-off to John Wick called Ballerina. It is starting in production this coming week. It's being directed by Len Wiseman. No release date has been released yet, but we'll keep posted when we find out, and I can't wait. I love Anna de Armas. On to Beth.
Oh boy. With Avatar: The Way of Water making headlines, director James Cameron has revealed that the franchise could change drastically if the film bombs at the box office. Although Avatar is expected to get 4 sequels in total, James Cameron states that Avatar 3 could be turned into a franchise conclusion if the second film underperforms, completely nixing Avatar 4 in total. Honestly, I respect that.
They're dedicated. Disney spent so much money.
I would rather them not spend money on another sequel that people will hate and instead just wrap up the story so that it's somewhat okay.
A somewhat unsurprising turn of events, one of the most popular and violent Xbox video game franchises will be getting both a live-action movie and a animated TV series on Netflix.
Jeez.
Since our viewers are probably wondering which franchise I'm talking about, it's the incredibly popular Gears of War. Why have they decided to make this into a live-action movie or an animated TV series? I couldn't fucking tell you. But
It's because Netflix taints everything they touch, and they just want to just get their hands on every single franchise in existence.
Netflix actually succeeded with making the Witcher series
Well,
Until they screwed that
until
up.
recently.
until they're
Yeah.
planning season 4, and that's a whole other story that we talked about in the previous episode.
Go sign your petition.
Which I'm sure if I check the petition,
Yeah.
if I go check the petition right now, it's probably over 200,000.
We know yesterday was election day, but today is the real important election day. Go cast your votes now.
Isaiah, you're up.
Hi, Aaron Paul Sturdivant, aka everyone's favorite meth lab assistant Jesse Pinkman, has officially changed his name to Aaron Paul, removing his last name Sturdivant. I hope I said that right. Mr. Paul has also chose to update his son's name as well from Casper Emerson to Ryden Caspian.
Oh, what a
Which has
name.
got to be the most medieval name.
I swear, Ryden Caspian. That sounds like such a medieval name.
It sounds like, yeah, it's like a Lord of the Rings
Sounds like a
character.
Skyrim. Yeah.
It's my he definitely made a D&D character. And to Beth with our final article today.
Yes. So, are you guys ready for the weirdest collab in history? AMC is working with Zoom to turn some of its movie theaters into massive video conferencing spaces for 75 to up to 150 people. AMC will even provide food and beverage offerings, possible movie viewings, and concierge-style personalized handling of meeting needs for an additional charge, which I think is the bougiest Zoom call ever.
I got heated seats.
Also, like, that's gonna suck for all the people who really enjoyed wearing their pajamas in Zoom meetings. That concludes This Week in Hollywood. You can find all of our sources cited on our Discord in the news article channel. Yay! Okay. Shoot myself. Lewis.
If you guys couldn't tell, Beth is feeling a little under the weather, so she's not really herself right now, and we're going to apologize for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I actually have 2 drinks again.
2 again?
Yes,
Oh,
but
wow.
one unique source and then one website known as Complete Cocktails. Unique source first. I actually found a Planet of the Apes cocktail made by Jeff Beachbum Berry on Reddit.
Oh my God, what a name.
Yeah. So our Planet of the Apes is going to be 1 ounce of dark rum, half an ounce of Jamaican overproof rum, 3/4 of an ounce of banana liqueur, 1 ounce of fresh pineapple juice, 1 ounce of fresh orange juice,
Okay.
and half an ounce of fresh squeezed lime juice. You're going to briefly. No, you'll see what happened in a second. Briefly shake or flash blend. I mix those two.
Fleefly.
Yes. Briefly shake or flash blend over crushed pebble ice and dirty dump into a cocktail glass. Top with more crushed ice.
I love crushed ice.
Garnish with a banana slice and Luxardo cherry.
Mm.
Funky, fruity, and wonderfully fresh banana flavor tie it all together.
Say that again.
Funky, fruity, and a wonderfully fresh banana flavor tie it all together.
Say that one more time.
No. I was curious to see.
It's so fun to hear you saying funky, fruity.
Funky, fruity, and a wonderfully fresh. I was curious to see how this cocktail would turn out as I heartily utilize banana liqueur, but I really love how this one looks and tastes. Definitely going to make more of these for myself and my wife in the future. Thanks, Jeff Beachbum Berry.
Thanks, Jeff.
He also had, so I'm going to put the picture in the Discord in just a moment, but he also had a banana slice with the cherry on a little plastic sword.
It sounds adorable.
It looks adorable. There you go.
Oh, it looks amazing. Oh, and it's the good type of cherry.
Mm-hmm. A Luxardo cherry.
Yeah, those are good. Those are like, Isaiah, those are like the bougie cherries for drinking. They're so good. They're really expensive, but they're really good.
Bougie maraschino cherries, I believe.
Yes.
And then our second drink of the day is known as Apes and Apple.
Okay.
The
Interesting.
Apes and Apples drink recipe blends the flavors of monkey shoulder scotch, mint, and apple juice served over ice in a highball glass. You have 1.5 ounces of Scotch whiskey, monkey shoulder, very specifically, 6 to 8 mint leaves, a sparkling apple juice, a mint stock for garnish, and obviously we're going to have a highball glass. You're going to lightly muddle your mint in the bottom of the highball glass, fill with ice, add your scotch, and top it off with your sparkling apple juice. Stir lightly, then serve. And this one's not as exciting, I feel like, but it does look interesting. It seems like I feel like this one is how you turn a scotch. This is how you create a scotch mojito, essentially.
I think the fact it's called that it's used with monkey shoulder is funny.
I was going to say, I think it's a general consensus that we agree on how Mr. Beachbum's drink looks. We can generally agree that it looks delicious and refreshing, but I just don't know if we all agree that it's going to be a high rating for us.
Okay, well let's start with that one. Let's start with our boy Jeff's drink, Beachbum.
My boy Jeff.
So I think for this one, it sounds delicious. It looks delicious, but it does sound like it's going to be super sweet, and not in the sense of like flavor wise, but like sugar content wise. So it's definitely like if I were to drink this, It would have to be like on the beach, kind of just a sip and drink. Like I would never order this anywhere at a bar or something unless I was like on a vacation. You know what I mean? So the idea, the concept of it is definitely a 5 out of 5. The likelihood of me drinking it is probably a 4 out of 5. So I'm gonna give it a 4.5.
Fair.
It's the most roundabout way of rating that one, but yes,
That's fine. Isaiah.
Let's see. I feel like there's too many types of like fruits and juices put together for the first one, but I don't think it'd be that bad. So I think I'm gonna give it like a 3.5 out of 5 because I would definitely try it. I think it would probably be pretty good. That cherry, the Luxardo cherry. Oh, I want to try it now.
they're so good.
To chime in. This is definitely like Beth said in the first half, and this also kind of answers the point of what that Isaiah just made of thinking there's too many liquors and fruit juices. This is definitely a tropical beach style drink. I like to refer, from my time making drinks at Outback, the Castaway cocktail. It's like I used to describe it to people as a day on the beach. I would definitely say that this is like very similar. It's going to be a day on the beach, but in like the Bahamas, Jamaica,
Yes.
somewhere in the Caribbean, or in like any like port city that is in like a tropical area. I'll agree with Beth. I probably wouldn't order this outside of like a beach style setting, but overall, I still give it like a 4.5.
Okay, so the same as me.
Yes.
This is it for the first one?
Yes. What'd you give it, Isaiah?
I get it for 3.5.
3.5. Okay. What do we think of apps and apples?
Apps?
Apes and apples.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Apps and apples.
I feel like it's a very simple drink. Like it's basically just it's like minty Scott whiskey.
With a hint of apple juice.
Yeah. So I don't think it tastes that bad. I feel like I give it a 4 out of 5. I'm in a minty whiskey.
I could definitely try making this at home.
Yeah, this sounds like something I could make at home as well.
It's
and I'm
very,
kind
it's
of
very
like
simple. Like it's just
it's 3 ingredients.
So I just think this is like a apple mojito, but with scotch. That being said, I'd probably give it personally. I don't know how I feel about the sparkling apple juice, so I'm gonna give it like a 3.5. I'm a big fan of scotch, and I don't like to mess with it in that sense.
See, I love sparkling apple juice. I love sparkling apple cider. Like, I love it. And I also love whiskey. I've never had monkey shoulder specifically, but I wonder if it has hints of banana or something in there. I do think I would like this one just as much as the other, but I think I think with the last one, I gave it a 5 out of 5 for concept and a 4 out of 5 for like a bit like reality of me drinking it. But with this one, I'm going to flip-flop it, and I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 for concept, but 5 out of 5 for likelihood of me drinking it. So it's still a 4.5, but for different reasons.
I'm sure that makes sense in your mind.
It did. It did. It really did. Now, as far as drinks go, have we covered all of our orders?
Bases.
What's the word?
Bases. Yeah, I think that about sums up our ratings for the 2 drinks. And as always, thanks for listening to us ramble on about alcohol.
Yes, as always.
Now we're going to jump into Beth's question of the day. What do you got for us, Beth?
Okay. Listen.
Let's.
So, like I said in the last episode, this is going to be the hardest franchise so far to find something to come up with for question of the day.
How would you survive the monkey apocalypse?
How did you fucking know? Okay, listen, it's not the monkey apocalypse. It's just an apocalypse in general. But
Okay.
Before we start, it's not a quiz or anything. We're just going to discuss.
Okay.
Because obviously the only quizzes I could find were zombie apocalypses, and that's much different than a monkey apocalypse. But before we start, I just want to throw this little tidbit out there that I found, this little factoid. Apparently, physics students at I forget which University of Leicester, wherever the fuck that is.
Leicester.
Sure. Has calculated how long it would actually take for humans to be wiped out during an apocalypse. And the results are really sad.
Oh no.
So how long do you guys think, due to actual scientists doing the math, how long do you think that the study suggests we would survive as humankind, as a human race?
Human race. What's the
The zombie apocalypse.
the zombie apocalypse was taking us out?
Yes.
Is there any parameters that they gave the zombies, like are the fast zombies, slow zombies, smart zombies, World War Z zombies versus like the 28 days later zombies?
Let me see. I don't think so. I think oh, wait. Yes. They assumed that a zombie could find one person each day with a 90% chance of infecting them with the zombie virus.
Okay, so I'm thinking with that, and given massive groups, I'm thinking like the Walking Dead level of zombies.
Sure.
So we'll go with that. I would say it would take us less than a year, maybe 6 months tops, before the entire annihilation of the entire world.
Okay.
That's aggressive.
Lewis, what do you think?
As far as how long it would take before the world ends, or before like we could get infected, I would say, so if we were basing it on what the movie did versus like what
oh no, this is what their studies suggest.
What their studies suggest. I want to say 3 to 5 years, tops.
3 to 5 years. Damn.
For everyone to be eradicated.
You both are very optimistic.
Oh my god!
Because
he said 6 months. I don't know about optimistic.
That is optimistic. Due to this study, it suggests that after just 100 days, less than 300 humans would be left alive on the entire planet. And at that point, any remaining humans would be outnumbered like 1,000,000 to 1 by zombies. But it does say that in a follow-up study, the students did show that as humans gradually do kill more zombies, they get better at surviving, they make more babies, and then the population would eventually start coming back after like 27 years. So
27.
So you're saying that if I become one of the 300 people that survive this earth after the apocalypse, I have to wait 27 years before any hope of ever regaining society again.
Yes.
Wow.
So, yeah, I just thought that was really interesting. And I mean, like 100 days is very depressing.
Does that does not include like humans turning on each other? That's just zombies killing us?
Let's see. It says the team didn't factor in any natural birth and death rates, seeing as they were only looking at 100 days. Any natural births and deaths over that time would be pretty insignificant compared to the destruction of the virus.
Yeah.
Then the model analyzed how often infected humans would come into contact with non-infected humans and how likely they were to pass on the disease in order to see how many people would end up surviving.
I wonder if they also if they included in the facts the one dude who gets bit, doesn't tell anybody, and then infects all 300 people.
I'm trying to see. Oh yeah, it does say without any major ways for humans to fight back, the students predicted that in less than a year, the entire human race would be completely wiped out. So I guess Isaiah was technically correct.
6 months. Let's go.
Yes. So on a less sad note, how long do you guys, so now that you have this information, how long do you think you'd last?
So given that, I'm going to base it off the coronavirus, is given, that's like the realest thing we can base it off of, because,
Yes.
we've been all through that. Given that, I actually would have survived like a year and a half.
That's fair.
Transmission, It's more about the transmission and lethality because the virus may evolve in different ways. And then knowing whether or not we're genetically immune, as the movie said. And plus, being that the movie is set 10 years after the first, there's at least one generation of people since then, being the kids who were like born right at the start.
Right.
So, yeah, I guess similar to Corona too, because there are people who are actually genetically immune somehow. I don't know. I would say I'd give myself at least 2 years before I like fuck up somehow or get fucked.
Get fucked.
I would say less about the virus and more just like in 2 years, 2.5 years as like surviving whatever comes after the virus has passed. So like the post-apocalyptic world, because what really like a good number of people were obviously killed by the virus, but then what started to kill off even more of them was the civil unrest. People started to loot and kill each other, and it was like interesting to me to think like that nations didn't straight up nuke each other during this time.
It was very on the nose to today's times, honestly. I was very surprised with how well it aged, where I was just like, wow, this is very applicable right now.
One movie that kind of came out in 2011. There's a movie. Okay, so the movie Contagion that came out in 2011 was so scarily accurate to what happened.
Oh, Contagion's
Yeah, Contagion is a great movie, and it was funny because when it came out and everybody watched it, they're like, "Oh wow, we would never act. Yeah, this would never happen. Would never act like that." And then like 90% of that movie happened exactly. That movie's now a documentary, unfortunately.
It's crazy. I think if I'm applying the same concept as you guys are, I would say I would also survive about 1.5 to 2 years because if we're applying like, oh, how long did we survive before we got COVID kind of thing, then yeah, it'd be like almost 2 years for me because and I was exposed a number of times. But if we're referring to the quick outlash of the virus in the beginning and then afterwards, like Lewis said, the civil unrest, I think I would survive longer if that's the case than if it were 2 years of just this virus spreading. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, I feel like I'd have a better chance of surviving during the civil unrest than I would during the virus part because my immune system obviously isn't great because I'm sick right now as we're talking. But yeah, I think that's realistic enough of an answer for me. So yeah, that is my question of the day.
Thanks.
How would you survive the monkey apocalypse?
Step 1, don't kill Harambe.
Step 1, don't kill Harambe. You're safe.
Yeah. So Isaiah, do you have any more facts for us? Because I know you said the last one was kind of tricky.
Yes. I did, however, manage to find more facts.
Do tell.
Because I'm just, really good at my job. All right, so let's get into some facts. So the original screenplay was originally offered to Rupert Wyatt, the original director of the first one, but he felt he didn't have enough time in order to fully flesh out the ideas that he wanted to do because the script they originally got was vastly different than what we had for this movie. So when it was written before he was hired, it was set further in the future with the apes having obtained the ability to fully speak flawlessly, just full on English. They would have spoken perfectly. Mm-hmm. And Caesar playing a much smaller role. It wouldn't have been about him. But Reese thought it would be more interesting to explore Caesar's story at an earlier stage and asked permission to rewrite the script from scratch. His request was granted on the condition that he deliver the film by the scheduled release date that he originally had. And he said, okay, bet. And he did it. And so they got a whole new script and a whole new story. The original story, I believe, from what I could find, was that it was going to be more about the humans. Basically, what the humans were right now, it was going to be more about them and then how they were kind of like interacting with the monkeys. So it was being more from their perspective, if anything. And then Caesar would have been like the side character, technically. He would have just been like, they would have been interacting with him. So, but like the entire story would have been taken place from the humans' perspective from the colony.
Okay.
And it was going to take place further in the future.
I'm glad they didn't go with that, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like Matt Reeves did a wonderful job kind of backtracking to where a Caesar story, because this is the Caesar trilogy, and it definitely shows.
Mm-hmm.
Something I want to throw in here as like a slight bridge from the first movie to this one. There are actually, I think, 2 comics that explain backstories for I forget the name of the character who was a doctor, the lady, the human.
Ellie.
Was it?
Yes.
Ironic.
There's
That's why I remembered, because I love that name.
so Ellie, there's a comic that explains her daughter dying and like the initial exposure to the virus and understanding why she was immune, but her daughter wasn't. And then I believe there was a short story that explained Koba gaining Caesar's trust and like all the work he had to do. So these are things that they're not really mentioned. I actually found this while I was looking stuff up about the movie, but yeah, I just wanted to share a quick fact for Isaiah's fact section. Anyway, back to Isaiah.
So to get the scene where Koba, he blows raspberries at the two-armed.
Yes.
That scene was very difficult to try to figure out because obviously humans and monkeys have very different facial features and muscles in order to do something like that. So to get it accurate, they studied high-speed videos of humans doing blowing raspberries, and to make sure, because they wanted to do it and make sure it didn't look too silly, because obviously there's nuance in the performance of making sure that he's not being silly to be silly, but and make it funny. They have to make it clear that he was doing it in order to trick the humans into thinking that he was an idiot.
Right.
When clearly Koba's he's smarter. He's doing it to make them, to confuse them and to make sure
drop their guard, basically.
I think it's just funny that, there's a bunch of people in a room having to study really high speed videos of humans just going.
Yeah, I love it. That's real art.
Maurice the orangutan is played by actress Karen Knoble.
Or Big Lou.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, and to portray the full weight of Maurice, because obviously Maurice is a very large animal.
Big Lou.
She would wear 10-pound weights on each of her arms.
It was a female?
Yeah. So name's Karen.
Wow. Karen.
Not that kind of Karen, though. It's with an I, so.
Oh, she's cool.
Corinne.
She got jacked.
Hell yeah, brother.
So, James Franco was unaware of his cameo in the movie, stating to Entertainment Weekly in an interview that, stating, "Wait, I have a cameo? I didn't know that. I don't even think they asked for permission to do that."
Oops. Drama.
Really? That's a problem, but you were a central character in the first one. Why would that be a problem?
Money.
Like, hey, we're going to be pushing this movie.
Not even really so much asking for permission, but just being like, hey, you're in this movie, just so that you're in the know-how. I would think.
I guess somebody didn't send him an email, so.
Or he just did. His agent didn't answer it.
Maybe. Fire them.
There's also a little, not Easter egg, but in the movie, if you pay attention to the detail, there's a lot of, it's amazing the amount of detail they put in the background and like to the sets and stuff like that. Because there's a little story going on there. There's actually a theory to what happened to his character after Caesar went to the Redwoods.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because so if you notice on the door, like next to the door, it says like a FEMA tag that says infected on it. And his car is covered in weeds and trees in the driveway. So the theory is that he got affected very early on and he died very early in the apocalypse, given the fact that his car was still there and FEMA had marked his house as a quarantine area because of the infected.
Damn.
So yeah, he probably died of hemorrhagic fever very early on.
Man, what a way to go. I would, if I were him, I'd be pretty mad at myself. I'd be like, damn, I kind of caused all of this.
Yeah, I kind of, killed the planet.
Big oof.
The official movie novelization, and yes, they do that. They do make novels of the movies. They go a bit deeper into detail and kind of add things that kind of give things more context and such. Koba, actually, in the book, instead wields a harpoon instead of a spear, and he's referred to as One Eye from the human's point of view.
That's a cool little nickname, but the harpoon's a little too much.
Also, he has 2 scars on his head and back instead of his arms and neck, like in the movie. Now, our final fact today, because there wasn't many, which is kind of an odd one. Due to Paul Walker's death during the production of Fast and Furious 7.
What?
Yeah, hold it. Dawn's release date had been pushed forward from July 11th to fill the absent release space. Because of his death, they had to push the release date of Fast and Furious 7, and they didn't want to leave the date open for no movies. So they pushed the release date for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes forward so that it would release in that time slot instead.
Yikes.
All right, then.
That's a little insensitive.
Because with his death, they were like, what the hell, we can't release the movie. We got to delay the movie. We got to figure something out. but also we don't want to miss the box office. And those are all my facts for today.
A good job.
It's your
Thank
facts.
you. They were very scarce to find.
I have a little, it's not really a fact, but it's a little Easter egg that I noticed that I was going to mention when we reviewed it, but I might as well throw it in now. I don't know if you guys noticed, but in like the Apes kind of like compound village thing, the rock that Caesar walks on all the time, like the ledge, has a carving of the window from his house.
Interesting.
Yes. I had to point it out to Jacob when we were watching it. I was like, oh, that's a nice little like nod to the first movie. I like that. It's very subtle. It's like you can only see it in certain shots and certain angles, but it's there. If you watch it again, you'll see it. Like when the guy scientist goes there and he's like the gorilla like pushes him down into the mud. You could see it in that scene. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. So I figured I'd throw that in real quick now. But anyways, now we can move on to our actual franchise breakdown, where we can talk even more in depth about all the little Easter eggs.
Not so much a fact, just a thought I had. Koba reminds me of one of the villains from the original series of Planet of the Apes, because I do have a memory of seeing, I think it was either the original or the second one, but Koba reminds me of like the general that stood by Caesar in one of the originals before he betrayed, or not Caesar, by Caesar's father in that case, and betrayed him. But in any case, that's just a side tidbit there. Whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first.
No.
So, okay. I rated this one out of all three of them. I haven't seen the third one yet. I might watch it tonight. But this one was a 4 out of 5 for me. I think that the overall story between Caesar and Koba was very, very well done. And how Caesar's trying to trust the humans again, because he knows that not so much beneficial for them, but that he just he still has this lingering connection from when he was younger with James Franco, or Will is his actual character's name. But he has that connection where he knows that not all humans are bad. So he wants to trust them again. And I like that is not so much thrown into our faces, but you can just make those connections on your own. And I think that they did that really well, because throughout the whole film, I think that they were really good at not just throwing everything into your face. Like, this is how you should feel. This is how this character feels. And you're able to make those judgments on your own. I think that the battle of the apes attacking the city was really fucking cool, especially the scene where Koba is in the tank and the camera is just like attached to the tank, and it's just a long shot of it's spinning, and you just see all the chaos going on around him. That was just really neat. And then I think also, like Isaiah was talking about with the scene where Koba is blowing the raspberry to the 2 gunmen, I think that scene was funny, but it wasn't funny stupid, where I was like, this feels out of place. It was deliberately done because he knew he could make them drop their guard, because they'd be like, oh, it's just a stupid monkey. And then he used that to get close to their weapons and then kill them. Like, it was just done really well, especially when he's like, the way whoever acted for Koba did, like, the motion capture for that did so well. Like, I really felt like it was just a chimp hanging with some people.
And drinking some whiskey.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother.
The CGI still stands the test of time. I think it's really good, even 3 years later. And the only thing I think I didn't really care too much about for the film was there's a few like exposition moments that it just felt like they were feeding to us in the beginning, where, like, with the humans specifically, the apes, they're perfectly fine. The humans, however, cannot for the life of them tell a story without literally telling us. You know how people say, like, show, don't tell? Okay, well, with the human story, they suck at that, because they like practically fed us the exposition.
Right.
My
I can agree with
Google,
that.
sorry, my Google Home just talked to me. She's like, if you're looking for a story, she's fucking listening in on me.
British.
Yeah, I made mine British. I think also what is with the cliche of people hiding under trees? I have seen that.
Hobbit?
Yes, like Lord of the Rings. They did it in this movie, and I just recently saw another movie where they did it, and I was like, why do I feel like I've seen this so much more recently?
And Halloween Kills also.
Yes, that's the one. I think it was Halloween.
Hanging out
They're
on a tree
just
top.
I've never seen a tree like that. Actually, I have, but like, and that's what I saw when I saw it too. I was like, that's immediately what I thought was like, oh, this is literally just straight out of Lord of the Rings. Like, why is this such a cliche hiding spot? And why does no one see them? Anyways, that's my little side rant. Also, maybe you guys could explain this to me, and maybe they explain it in the next one. Caesar's son, blue eyes. Why does he have blue eyes? I thought they were supposed to have green eyes because of the medicine, or not the medicine.
It's just they're just speckles. Like they're everybody's eyes are normal colors, except there's specks of the green in them. His mom, we call it Caesar's mom was bright eyes. Because of that, it just went like really bright, and then he inherited it, so he was somewhat had it, and then everybody who gets infected kind of just has the speckles of it in them.
Yeah, every other ape character gets like their eyes will still be like that yellowish or orangish color, but it'll have flecks of green throughout. And in the case of blue eyes, he was born with straight up blue eyes. That's probably more not only having Caesar's genetics, but his actual mother probably had like more yellowish eyes, if I remember correctly. So the two probably just merged to have like more human-like eyes.
Okay, that is a perfectly fine explanation. I just was literally curious. I was like, I'm sure they can explain it to me. I have no idea. Also, this is my last point. I don't know how you guys feel about this, so I want to hear your thoughts on it, and then you guys can take it over from there. But what are your guys' opinion on, specifically in this movie too? I feel like the apes talk a lot more like a human, and I personally don't think I like it as much as I thought I would, because I feel like when they talk less, then when they do speak, it has a way more of an impact. So I don't know what your guys' opinion on that is, but I just felt like this movie, they talked a lot.
I think it also affects my rating. It kind of took me out of my suspension of disbelief, in a sense, because if you're thinking of this ape colony that escaped San Francisco and built a home and lived away from humans for 10 years, right? And not even just that. If you think about this sort of like from the anthropology perspective of like Neanderthals who couldn't speak per se, but they could make noise the same way that we do, just because of the way their vocal cords were formed. And that's where the reference is coming from. Anyway, I feel like it didn't really make sense. Like it made sense if Caesar spoke and at least said no, or could say a couple things like Caesar is home and a couple other things like that. It didn't really make sense to me that suddenly all of the apes can speak.
Yeah.
And then gradually as the movie goes on, they start speaking in like more coherent sentences more frequently too, like especially with Caesar and Koba's dialogue at the end, where they're insulting each other and saying like, you're a coward and all this other crap. And I don't know. I know there was like a sign in the beginning, like when they were showing the colony, and then Maurice is like teaching the young apes how to do like sign, like that made sense. And then knowing some letters, at least to like say like ape not harm, like the way it was carved into the rock, the three laws they had or whatever, that made sense. And if the movie was introduced a different way, so like if Maurice had been given the book early on by that one kid, and then they show the movie as taking place over a longer period of time, like say like 3 months later, this has happened, then it would start to make more sense to me that the apes could read and write or even go on to speak, because now they've been interacting with humans and hearing, this vocalization a lot more frequently. But that's just my opinion of it. I don't know about Isaiah.
I think the natural progression of what's happening makes sense. So the first movie, they don't really speak, right? Because they don't really know. how to.
Yeah, you have Caesar.
Because yes, Caesar's the only person who knows really how to like speak once he learns how to do it. Right? This movie, it takes place like 10 years in the future. Would assume that by this point, because Maurice also knows how to not speak, but he understands like English and that kind of stuff. So now that all of them have the ability in their heads of, okay, I know how to speak now, they would gradually kind of like build that on, but obviously it would be like a secondary language because the sign language, they know more on how to communicate, obviously, because they only know how to say specific words, and that's why the English is so broken. So that's obviously wouldn't be their necessary and main way of communication when they know so much more in sign language. But it doesn't mean they don't know any of it at all. And towards the end, when everything's like going to hell, I would assume that would make more sense to start speaking in English, because obviously it's like, okay, I'm not gonna give you this long winded explanation of being like you're bad. Nope, it's Koba, die. Like it's real simple, straight to the point. I don't need to sign that. You're gonna die.
Now, what do you guys think overall though of the film minus the talking part?
So I also give it a 4 out of 5, and I think I've kind of addressed one of the things that would have affected it. I think the other thing that had to do with it. So I feel like the first film was much better about suspending disbelief for me, like making me really kind of see this progression of the film and like the monkeys, even with their increased intelligence and whatnot, they lived through mostly realistic situations. So, like Caesar suddenly knowing how to say no after he's lived with humans all his life.
Yeah.
And being able to like scream it at a guy who was trying to harm him. That makes more sense. And then with this film, I think one of the other things that like kind of hampers that ability to really like stay engrossed in the film was Koba, not just Koba, but Koba knowing how to shoot a gun all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And then all of the other apes being able to pick up a gun and shoot them in the charge onto the city.
Well, I mean, it doesn't take a lot to shoot a gun. They're smart.
The issue is the reloading part, but I don't think they ever show any monkey or ape or anything reloading. I think they just kind of shoot until they're out.
No, obviously knowing how to shoot a gun, not difficult.
They weren't exactly aiming the gun either. They were just kind of free firing. They were praying and spraying.
Yeah, they were spraying and praying. I think what it lacks is like, number one, I mean, despite the fact that, chimpanzees, bonobos, gorillas, all these other people who followed Koba, despite the fact that their physique is very different from humans, so they're not going to really be affected by the recoil on those rifles as much. That's another thing I feel like would have impacted the movie a little bit. Like if they'd shown, Koba or other apes learning to shoot before the assault, and like watching some of them kind of like fuck up and like suddenly start shooting into the air because they don't expect what happens with the gun, or one of the apes shot itself in like the arm or face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're basing that off of that, like they'd never seen a gun before. This is 10 years after a civil unrest. They all saw what happened to the humans, so they are aware of what guns do and how they work.
That's fair, but I also think that because they were so isolated from the community, they never got to experience that like up close after the initial escape from San Francisco. So I could be wrong about what I'm saying as far as like the 10-year gap in the isolation because of the stories with Koba gaining Caesar's trust and the other backstory pieces that they have to bridge War of the Planet of the Apes to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And I'm sure there's other bridges that go from Dawn of the Planet of the Apes Rise of the Planet of the Apes to Dawn, and then Dawn to War. So in either case, I don't know. Just my personal thought initially watching the movie without having this discussion was like, it's not hard to shoot a gun, but for a chimp to know what a gun does to begin with, despite having experienced, like the battle they were in at the time and their escape in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, I feel like it's a little much, a little bit of a stretch. The talking definitely was another thing that was a bit of a stretch. I don't know. I feel like there were some other like character points that they I understand that they were meant to be like a short point in the plot for a bigger picture thing later, but like Dreyfus going from like the leader of the town to suddenly being a father who lost his kids to suddenly being the guy defending the town to then being a crazy madman who's willing to blow himself up with C4 to take out a tower of where the apes are. Michael's son, who his only thing besides drawing sketches of the monkeys of apes was giving Maurice a book, and then it's like nothing. He does like basically nothing else the entire film. Crabber is a great example and a very on the nose thing of like, kind of addressing like a political and social statement in like his hatreds, his unbridled hatred towards the apes, even when they're kind to him.
Yeah.
But I feel like his eventual demise and like the fact that his body is not shown after the fact, it's just his hat on the rifle, so they make it look like he's the one who shot Caesar, but the humans don't know that Carver died. You know what I mean? Like even when they get to the car and they put Caesar in the car, like that's where Koba literally just smashed him to death.
Yes.
And they don't even see that. So it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I did. That was one question that I had at the end. I was like, so where's his body? They never find it or like talk about it. He just dies. And they're like, yeah, okay, well, he was a jackass anyways. We don't care.
Right.
I just assumed that he just moved it, like he just threw his body in like the brush that's next to it, next to the
Maybe,
guards.
yeah.
Sure, I guess, but like it would have made sense for them to like at least give us some sign of that. You know what I mean? Or like they walk over to the brush, and then maybe they see like his legs sticking out, and then Michael goes over and like they don't all go over and check. The camera doesn't have to pan, but they just go over and they're like, it's Carver, and then fucking run. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Or the other two dudes who were being chased by the apes when they thought that the humans had set fire to the village. We don't see them die either.
Oh,
You
true.
just kind of hear them. You kind of just hear them screaming off screen, and then their voices are drowned out by the apes. Hootering, hollering, and running through the forest.
Mm.
So, but yeah, those were really the things that just kind of, I think would have been, they could have been a little bit different, but otherwise, I think it's definitely still a very strong movie. It's definitely still a highly recommended film overall.
What's your rating?
Oh, I said 4 out of 5.
Right. Isaiah, what would you say?
Well, I kind of disagree with everything Lou said for the reasons why he does not like the movie. I think the idea of them going for like an apocalyptic, they said, oh, we're coming up with a sequel. My thought would have been, oh, they're going to come up with them hanging out in the redwoods and them kind of getting chased by the humans, given the entire situation that they caused. So I expected a sequel to kind of happen exactly like directly after that. But the fact they're like, oh yeah, no, the apocalypse basically happened and killed the planet, and this is now 10 years in the future. I thought it was a very interesting concept that they wanted to go for.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I thought it was pretty good. Obviously, and then it keeps in theme with the original idea of the Earth.
Right,
After
and
that.
the way they did it in the beginning too. I also liked the. This is based more on like our basic understandings of what pandemics would be like, but also like Plague Inc. I've played a lot of. I thought it was a very accurate representation of what could happen in the case of going with like a very viral and dangerous, not viral, but very virulent and dangerous, lethal virus that can spread so quickly across the earth. And then the obviously like lockdowns and things that have to occur through martial law and whatever. And that's where society just starts to collapse. But I think that was a very well done. That's actually one of the things that kind of gave it a good rating for me in the beginning.
So I'll be honest, I didn't know Gary Oldman was in this movie. I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when he popped up,
Racist.
I was like, oh hell yeah, let's do this. But they didn't really do anything with his character. So I do have to agree with Lou on like he was very sporadic. His character arc when he was talking was more of like, I understand we haven't seen the monkeys. I trust my co-founder to do what is right. I'm not gonna like go behind his back. But I also have to prepare for the fact that like they might try to kill us. So he's very, very logical, which I was like, okay, cool. That makes sense. It's like, I'm gonna prepare, you do what you gotta do, but I'm also gonna do what I gotta do. And we'll meet in the middle, all right? Deal? Deal. All right. And then they kind of both did that. I understood the scene where they like, oh, he's just a father. He's a military guy, but he's also a father and he's just trying to take care of everybody. And
Mhm.
he just misses his family. And I get that. And then it just went and leap into the air with the whole I'm going to suddenly kill myself and save humanity kind of thing. I don't know what the hell happened there.
Yeah, that was odd.
It goes from town mayor, family man.
Suicide bomber.
No. Commissioner Gordon defending the city. Commissioner Gordon defending the city. Suicide bomber.
I was
and it just
I like when they were attacking the city, I understood his point of view of being like, oh crap, they're attacking the city. We got to defend ourselves, kill all the apes. Because from his point of view, he doesn't know anything that happened on that thing. For all he knows is that they killed his friend and they're here to start a war. So that made sense. But then him going like, oh, I'm going to suicide and destroy this place because he's got to stop me. Like if I saw my friend, I'd be like, all right, I'm going to trust you. Because like that whole section of him, of like Jason Clarke's character, like grabbing the gun and pointing and being like, hey, you gotta trust me on this. So like you guys were partners and he trusted you in the first place. I don't see any reason why he would not trust you in this situation. of being like, hey, the guy who's there, there's a coup going on right now. Just give him a minute to see if he can kill him, and if not, then we can blow the tower. He would have trusted him. I don't see why he had to like do the whole I'm gonna shoot you if you don't blow the tower, and then he tries to kill everybody. Like that dynamic didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, no, Dreyfus going immediately just being like, I'm saving humanity and killing two other men, good men.
It felt very plot driven.
Yeah,
yes.
Like it felt like they were like, oh, we need to get rid of these characters. We can't have them because we're not going to have them for the next. So we got to get rid of them. Now, Carver, the second he shot Ash, I was like, oh my God. All right, this guy's going to be the dude that we're all going to hate for this freaking movie. And I was like,
oh, I knew from the get-go, yeah.
I understand his idea is that he needs someone to blame. He lost everything. The apocalypse all started. But sure, he needs someone to blame. I get that. But even when like a logical argument is presented for him to be like, oh, well, I guess I'm still the asshole. Like, yeah, bro. You are. Do you really think what do you call it? Yeah, you can blame the monkeys, sure. But like start a war with them because you have an issue with the monkeys because you want to illogically blame them. And you want to
just needs to see a therapist. That's all.
Yeah, but like, yeah, he does. But his entire reasoning of being like, oh, I'm going to not follow any of the rules that the monkeys did. I have really no reason to blame these specific monkeys, despite the fact that, of all the things that happened. Ellie had a good point. They didn't really have a choice. They were monkeys. And they were just kind of poked and prodded. And for him to just still kind of be like, yeah, I'm going to start basically being a dick and, get us all thrown out and also risk the entire colony. This was a dick move.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Koba and Carver are their equivalents in this situation. Koba hates the humans and Carver hates the monkeys. Carver's
Apes. Sorry.
Apes. Jesus, why'd you yell?
Because you're wrong.
God bless.
So Carver's hatred makes no sense. Koba's hatred makes sense though. He's been poked and prodded, experimented on, nearly killed.
He's Mr. Understood.
Mr. Understood.
Shut up! I know what I said.
Yeah, his hatred makes sense. His sudden decision to shoot Caesar and start a coup, not 100% there.
Yeah, that was a big jump. I will agree with Lewis on that. I think that it could have gone there, but it just felt like we missed a step.
Yeah, because it went straight from I'm his trustee secondhand to
like I'm gonna shoot you immediately.
I do think that this movie does set up Caesar's convictions very well. It sets up that he is a person who's don't kill your fellow apes, don't do these specific things. There's the 3 laws, and then by the end of the movie, he has to break things because he has to realize that he can't have that. That's a perfect world that he can't have. And his convictions has to be tried, and he's got to do something that he doesn't want to do. So I do think that's a solid thing that they did for that plot line of setting up his conviction to then testing his conviction. And I think the movie's pretty solid. It's not like a terrible movie. I know we kind of seems like we're ragging on it right now, but it's not terrible.
It's not terrible. It's just not as good as the first. That's literally that's all I have to say.
Yeah, the pacing and the writing for this movie is a bit not subpar, but it's below the Rise. Rise was definitely paced and written way better.
Yes.
But I do think it was a good, solid movie, and I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Okay, so I think we all agree then 4 out of 5.
5, not mid.
Not mid, above mid.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us in today's episode. You know where to find us. We are Silver Screen Sips on Instagram and all social media platforms. If you would like to send us an email with any movie suggestions or questions, you can reach us at silverscreensips@gmail.com. And please be sure to share this podcast with your family and your friends or anyone else who is a cinephile, just like us. Seriously, it helps us create better episodes for you and helps us to grow bigger so we can make money. Plain and simple. I would love to be able to keep doing this. So, once again, thank you to everyone for listening. And we'll see you guys in episode 3.
Bye.
Bye.